50 for Christ Challenge Round 2 update. Now we're going to move into the next week from my last update. This specific week, which was in real time last week, this specific week was I felt God speaking to me in a lot of ways. So I believe last I shared with you, I stopped with the reading the studying of the Bible the way I was doing it, where I was going through Psalms and then I would jump into Revelations, and then I told you that I picked up on the chronological Bible. Went through the chronological Bible, everything started to align itself. There were certain TikToks that were like coming through my feed, and then there were certain sermons that I was watching. It was all connecting. So starting on Monday night, there was a TikTok that came across my feed. So I saw it on Monday night, and then I was too tired to even comprehend everything that was happening. I was just exhausted. So then I woke up Tuesday morning, and it was still on my feed, which is not typical. Typically, you go to sleep and you wake up and like your TikTok refreshes, whatever. It was still on my feed. So I went ahead and watched it and didn't really understand what Goshen meant, but I was like, maybe I'm supposed to pray this over me and my family. Went into understanding what Goshen meant, which means a place of comfort and plenty. So once I fully understood that, then I felt more comfortable praying what it was. But the crazy thing about it is, after I got out of prayer that morning, and after seeing that TikTok, I was in my chronological Bible. I'm listening, and it starts talking about, because I was in Genesis, was talking about Joseph and how his family, once he was like high up where he was, came and moved into the place of Goshen. I'm like, okay, well, and I feel like God speaks to me that way, where he puts things in my path several times. Something else that I really felt him speaking strongly to me about within this week was kind of the movement of my calling and taking a leap of faith into what he's calling me to do. I'm so nervous about it because I don't want to be wrong and then take a leap of faith and it be absolutely wrong. But there were several things that kept coming across, my path through sermons and my Bible study, and even different TikToks that were confirming some of these things that I was feeling. I remember one of the specific TikToks that came across my page. It was actors basically, but God was having them come to him in Judgment Day. He was trying to see if they did what they were called to do on this earth. And I think for me, what I took away from that is I don't want to get to the end of my life and not have fulfilled the calling that he has on my life. Something else that I really felt he was talking to me about that week was exposing an enemy. And I think for me, it would be something like my pride and ego. This all everything happened. It just was back to back to back to back the way it happened. In this for me, pride and ego, in the sense of I have a lot of past hurts and things where people have, in my eyes, in our own eyes, we all feel like people have done us wrong or not treated us fairly or whatever. And I feel like there are people who treated me wrongly, and I still sometimes struggle with those things. And sometimes I get into a place where I'm like, well, I'm going to show them because I'm going to be great and I'm going to this and I'm going to that. And something that I felt God was really telling me is that I need to swallow that pride and swallow that ego, because he's going to use me to move into areas in some of those people's lives that have hurt me in the past. And so it's important for me to let that go. Another one of my enemies is triggers, and we all have triggers. And sometimes those triggers keep us trapped, and they make us fall into there's things that you do sometimes, or places that you go to mentally, where you're trying to feel better about what you're triggered about. So I think that's also one of my enemies. For me, when I get into those places where I'm triggered, I let it sit in my brain and I just run it over and over in my head. I get stuck in that moment. I get downtrodden, and it is keeping me from moving on with whatever I need to move on with. God wants to free us. He wants to take us out of that spiritual bondage and free us from those things to help us to fulfill the calling and to give him the glory. I also felt him saying to me that the more that I become on fire for him and the more that my relationship grows closer to him, some of my relationships and friendships may change, and I just have to be okay with that. I also felt him talking to me about waiting. I've been waiting for him to walk me into my purpose, but in a way, it very well could be that he's waiting for me to get into a waiting posture. Sometimes we think of waiting as a time, but sometimes waiting is just a posture. I think with a lot of what has to do with my calling, I feel like God is waiting for me to get to the place where I need to be, where I fully put my faith, trust, and everything into Him, and I have no fear, and I'm able to just jump into what He wants for me. And it's hard because it's scary, because I sit here and I'm like, if I jump into this, will I still be able to provide for my kids? And how do I know that it's going to work? And how do I know that we're not going to go hungry? You know, it's like that thing of, and it's like He wants me just to give it to Him and trust in Him, and everything's going to be fine. I feel like another big thing that He was saying to me in this week was that I was going to, the closer I get to Him, the more spiritual warfare I'm going to encounter. And I can definitely say this week, I'm not going to get into it in this video, but this week I definitely feel like I kind of experienced that. I got to a point where I had completely lost a lot of hope. I've gotten over that now, but I definitely got to that point, and I feel like that was probably some of the spiritual warfare that He was kind of warning me about. And then one more thing, well, there's a lot of things He told me this week, but I'm not sharing it all, because one of the other things that I can't really talk too much about, the TikTok came up across my page, and it kind of wrapped up everything and summed up everything that He kind of had been talking to me about throughout the week. And it was interesting because I was actually just entering the book of Job, and the creator of the TikTok was saying, you guys, you're just coming out of your Job season. And so it was kind of like, oh, there's another little connection, weird correlation, because in my chronological Bible, it goes Genesis and then Job. So just a lot of things that he was saying to me within that week. But I hope that you guys are having a blessed and beautiful week, and I will see you in my next update on my 50 for Christ challenge.